Half a day, the Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture is now called to order. Today is Wednesday, March 15, 2023, and the time is now 10:05 a.m. I have voice issues today, so I'm going to ask my Vice Chair, Senator Joanne Brown, to please continue to preside over the hearing.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. We call the hearing to order. In compliance with the open government law, notices for this public hearing were published in the Guam Daily Post on Wednesday, March 8th, 2023, to address the 5-day notice. And Monday, March 13th, 2023, the 48-hour notice was provided on the Government of Guam Public Notice website on Thursday, February 23rd, 2023, and on Wednesday, March 8th, 2023, to meet the 5-day notice requirement. And Monday, March 13th, 2023, and is being live streamed on the Legislative YouTube channel. Notices were also sent via email to all senators and all main media broadcast outlets on Wednesday, March 8th, 2023, and on Monday, March 13th, 2023. The general rules of conduct amended standards here are: individuals testifying shall first be recognized by the chair before speaking and begin by stating their name for the record, keeping purposes. Agenda items. The agenda item that will be heard today are the following: Bill number 2037 COR from William A. Parkinson, Therese Terlaje, Roy Anthony Benavente Quinata, Dwayne T.D. Sen Nicholas, an act to amend sections 2103 and 2104 of Article 1, section 2201 of Article 2, and sections 2701, 2702, 2703, and 2705 of Article 7, all of Chapter 2, Title 10, Guam Code Annotated, relative to restoring access to federal public assistance for otherwise eligible individuals with felony drug convictions. Bill 2037 was introduced and referred to the Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture by the Legislative Committee on Rules on January 27, 2023. I would like to acknowledge our colleagues that are here. Of course, Speaker Terlaje, who's here, the sponsor of the bill, Senator Parkinson, Tello Tidegui, Chris Barnett, and Chris Duenas. We have both our Chris's here this morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Before we hear from those that have signed up to provide testimony on the bill, I would like to invite the prime sponsor, Senator Parkinson, to please introduce the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Federal Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act of 1996 puts a lifetime ban on public assistance for people convicted of drug felonies. This was signed into law by then President Clinton during the war on drugs era. People convicted of rape, murder, and other violent felonies are not similarly banned from public assistance. Section 115 of this measure proposed a lifetime ban permanently disqualifying otherwise eligible individuals from receiving public benefits provided by the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, and the Temporary Assistance for Needy Family Program, also known as TANF. Under this ban, if a person has been convicted of a federal or state felony offense involving the possession, use, or distribution of a controlled substance, including cannabis, they are not eligible. Federal law allows states and territories to opt out of this ban, and 49 out of 50 states have opted out in some form. South Carolina and Guam remain the only two jurisdictions in the United States with such a ban. Bill 20-37 would opt Guam out of the SNAP and TANF ban for drug offenders like the other 49 states that have done so. Additionally, whereas public assistance like SNAP and TANF is denied to Guam residents who are convicted of a felony offense of possessing a controlled substance, felons who are convicted of a violent yet non-drug related crimes such as murder, domestic abuse, or armed robbery are allowed to receive these same welfare benefits upon release from incarceration. Make that make sense. Most people returning home from prison had been struggling in some significant way prior to their involvement with the criminal justice system. Surveys consistently show that substantial proportions of people who are incarcerated have histories of substance abuse, mental health issues, homelessness, or physical or sexual abuse. The stigma of the criminal conviction and incarceration alone makes their re-entry process increasingly challenging, but particularly damaging for people who are trying to re-enter society after a period of incarceration only to be restricted on eligibility for public assistance. Public assistance designed to provide a subsistent level benefits for people who cannot afford to feed themselves or clothe their children. SNAP and TANF may be particularly critical to prevent recidivism among formerly incarcerated individuals transitioning back to their home communities. In this context, SNAP or TANF help these individuals meet their basic survival needs during the period in which they are searching for jobs or housing, thus reducing the likelihood that they will return to criminal activity to secure food or other essentials for themselves or their families. We should not punish people who suffer from drug addiction for life by taking away food from them and their families, especially when such stability can provide a pathway to work and productivity in society. We need to address the portion of our population that does not work, cannot provide for their families, and are caught in cycles of poverty. More often than not, people coming out of our prison system need some form of assistance to adjust back into society. SNAP and TANF provide basic food assistance to those who could not otherwise afford it, and without that base of support, they are more likely to stay out of the job market and fall back into drug addiction. We have to recognize drug addiction as a public health crisis and begin to treat it as one. Denying people food on their pathway to recovery does not serve the interests of Guam or its people, and I urge my colleagues to support this measure. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Parkinson. With that, we will begin with calling up our members of our community that have signed up to testify. And with that, I'll call Christine San Nicolas, Geralyn Quijado, Teresa Palacios, Rochelle Paulino. See if we have enough seats up here. And Eric Borja. We have a few extra seats. We also have a Brian Hahn, a Dre Andrus. I think we have enough space up here. If you're here and you would like to provide testimony, please come up. Michael Quinata. Or, yeah. Would you like, please come in? I think there's enough space here for everybody that's signed up so far. Okay. With that, we'll start off with Christine San Nicolas. Hi, how are you? Good morning.
Hafa, good morning, committee members. Hope you're having a great day so far. My name is Christine San Nicolas. I'm the Human Services Program Administrator under the Division of Public Welfare of Public Health. So I manage the Bureau of Economic Security for all the public assistance programs. So again, thank you, committee members, for this opportunity to speak to you today on this long-awaiting bill, 20-37. The Department of Public Health and Social Services supports Bill 20-37. Currently, individuals with a felony conviction related to drugs are banned a lifetime from receiving food assistance under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps, but now known as SNAP, and the Cash Assistance Program, which is the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, also known as TANF, or both. This, of course, is the result of the 1996 Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act, which of course was enacted in August 22, 1996. The lifetime ban applies to all individuals regardless of whether they served their sentence in jail or prison or received a lighter sentence due to the nonviolent and/or minor nature of the offense. However, states and territories have the option to remove or modify the lifetime ban by means of legislation. For ex-offenders who have already paid their debt to society, being able to apply for basic safety food net benefits can help them get back on their feet. Successful prisoner reentry requires access to employment, training, and work support services such as food, healthcare, housing, and depending on the individual needs, access to childcare and mental health and substance abuse treatment services. These basic safety net benefits and services can ease the burden and barriers to reentry. Parents, of course, who lack the access to these supports are at higher risk for homelessness and child abuse and neglect. For parents who have satisfied the societal debt with prison sentences, re-entering society can be a difficult and arduous process. Without any income, they are unable to support their children and need short-term TANF and SNAP benefits to help them become self-reliant. Unfortunately, this lifetime ban prohibits convicted drug felons from obtaining these basic resources. SNAP recipients are eligible to receive employment and training and related support services under the SNAP Employment and Training Program. These crucial supports can help recipients gain the skills needed for better jobs and allow them to feed for their families. However, if an individual isn't eligible for SNAP due to the ban, he or she cannot receive services from SNAP ENT, even if a family member receives food assistance under the SNAP program. Similarly, banning TANF for ex-offenders reduces the amount of cash assistance a family may receive and reduces access to other support services needed to find employment. Without these safety net programs and employment services, ex-offenders may resort to committing crimes to earn income and make ends meet. Research shows that released felons who are banned from SNAP have a much higher rate of food insecurity, which is also linked to higher rates of illegal activity. The department does recommend several revisions. In Section 5, to include and define temporary assistance for needy families, TANF, and in Section 7, to include and TANF after SNAP on line 16 and page 7. In Section 8, to include TANF recipients and any penalties imposed if found guilty of violating federal law. So the enactment of this bill will not impact the general fund, as both SNAP and TANF are 100% paid with federal funds. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nicholas, for providing your testimony. Does Geralyn want to provide testimony? Hi, welcome. Thank you for coming to join us this morning. You can proceed. Just identify your name and if you're representing yourself or any organization.
I'm representing SWASA. The Honorable Therese M. Terlaje, Chairperson, Committee of Health, Land, Justice, and Culture. Testimony on Bill number 20-37 related to the restoring access to federal public assistance for otherwise eligible individuals with felony drug convictions. Buenas and half a day, Chairperson Terlaje and members of the committee. My name is Geralyn Quijado. I am a graduating senior in the Bachelor's of Social Work program, and I am testifying on behalf of Social Work Student Alliance of the University of Guam. I want to thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of Bill number 20-37. I am genuinely concerned about welfare eligibility for persons convicted of a felony offense involving the possession, use, or distribution of the controlled substance. Restoring federal public assistance programs such as Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program and temporary assistance to needy families potentially increases the success rate of re-entry into society from the criminal justice system. Without SNAP benefits, for example, otherwise eligible individuals with felony drug conviction may face food insecurity and poor health outcomes. According to the National Institutes of Health, 12.8% of the general population of the U.S. experience food insecurity, and 70.4% of those on probation experience food insecurity. In addition, persons who receive SNAP are eligible for employment, training, and related to supportive services under the SNAP Employment and Training Program, and cash assistance through TANF. If the lifetime ban is not lifted, those attempting to reintegrate into society lose out on getting the necessary skills to secure and maintain a reliable job and improve employment opportunities. The Bureau of Justice of Statistics states that 3/4 of prisoners are rearrested within 5 years, and there is a 10% recidivism decrease when former prisoners have access to SNAP and TANF. Reducing recidivism can significantly decrease correctional costs, and these critical supports can help individuals gain skills for jobs that allow them to provide for themselves and their families. Lastly, data from National Conference of State Legislatures show Guam and South Carolina are the only jurisdictions that have retained the ban in full. We now have the opportunity to change that. We must pass laws that effectively address welfare eligibility. As a future social worker, I believe that this can be accomplished by taking a more restorative route to decrease recidivism rather than a punitive one. I urge all members of the Legislative of Guam to support Bill number 20-37, all those supporting the access to federal public assistance for otherwise eligible individuals. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Of Teresa Palacios. Okay. Rochelle Paulino. Eric Borja. Again, just identify for the record your name and if you're representing yourself or any organization. Thank you.
Buenos and Hafide, my name is Eric Borja, and I'm representing myself. And I just wanted to give my testimony on this ban. A little backstory of it. I moved to California in 2000. I moved to San Diego, California, and I picked up my first felony back in 2001. I didn't apply for SNAP until about 2007 in California, and I actually had a drug charge at that same time when I applied for it. And the worker at the Department of Public Health in Chula Vista, California, asked me, and I did not check mark the box that says, "Have you ever been convicted of a drug felony?" And when I didn't, and he asked me, and I said, "Yes, I have." I asked him if it was going to bar me from receiving the benefit. I mean, the SNAP and the Medi-Cal and all the public assistance that they offer. He said, "No, we actually did an addendum to the qualifications. I had to sign a document stating that I would not sell my SNAP benefits for any illegal drugs. I would not abuse the privilege of the SNAP benefits." I signed it. They gave me my SNAP benefits that same day, and I was very relieved because at that time I was a transient homeless person at the time. I was jumping around from different places, and one thing that I wanted to stress is that, I never had to go steal any food from the stores or anything and I always had something to eat, even if it was just the bare minimum of what they gave me, the lowest bracket of assistance. It still made a difference. It also, when I moved back into my brother's house, it also helped me to contribute to the family because I didn't have a job. I had a criminal background that prevented me from getting some jobs that I wanted to apply for, fast forward to 2010, I was put in a adult drug court program. Prior to that, since 2007, I've been in other treatment programs, but I've always had the SNAP benefit, right? And never got arrested since that last time. I never went back into jail for doing any other crime. 2010, I got into January 11, 2010, exact day that I started that treatment program. The services that they offered me, I had medical insurance. The only thing I didn't qualify for was the cash assistance because of my charge. But they were able to still give me the SNAP, and I kept renewing it every year. I found a job while I was in treatment for drugs and alcohol, and I graduated that program successfully 18 months later in August of 2011. And from that day, I was off probation. I've been on probation since 2001 in California. I came back to Guam in June of 2012, and me thinking that the system was kind of the same, I went to the Derrido Public Health to apply for benefits because I didn't have a job. I came here with only about $600, and I was supposed to move back to California, but I never made it. I ended up staying on Guam, and when I applied, me being that, okay, they're going to probably give it to me because they gave it to me in California, I check mark yes, that my drug, I did have a drug charge. But just keep in mind that the program, the drug treatment program I was in, expunged my record after I completed the program. So my drug charge and my other charges that I had back in 2001 are completely wiped out on my record. And I basically had a clean slate in my life. And since 2012, the lady that helped me diminish, she saw that. She automatically said, "Sir, I'm sorry, but you are disqualified from the program." And I was asking her, I go, "Man, in California, they gave it to me. What's going on?" And she was like, "Sir, son, this is not the States. Over here in Guam, we run things differently." And I was devastated. I'm going to tell you, I had 2.5 years clean off drugs and alcohol before that happened. And I can tell you right now, more than likely, if I wasn't, I would have probably went back to going back to the life that I was living. And I'm really glad that I did have familial support when I got here to Guam. You know, and they helped me to get a job. I found a job. Things I learned in treatment, you know, because people who suffer from drug addiction get a bad rap. You know, not everybody's the same. Okay. Me today, I'm what I do in my life today is I'm breaking that stigma that the general public looks at us for. Okay, it does help. Everything that Ms. Nicholas said, it does help. It just doesn't help right away, but it will help. It helped me personally, and I am grateful that they gave it to me. I am grateful that I had food, you know, and coming to Guam, I'm really. I was so disappointed in the system. You do that to somebody whose mindset is in an addictive state. It's dangerous. Thank God that I learned what I needed to learn when I was in treatment. And today on Guam, at the Superior Court of Guam, I work for that program that helped me. I am a drug counselor at that program now. 13 years later, I'm still clean and sober from all drugs, including alcohol. All because the SNAP and these benefits that they offer for us did play a big part in that. Today, I'm just like Geralyn. I'm going to be graduating in May for the Bachelor with my BSW degree, and then going on to the University of Hawaii for my Master's in Social Work. And I'm also been working at the Lighthouse Recovery Center for 7 years, helping people just like me. Those who when I see them get their benefits, and they go on to do better things for themselves. Not everybody makes it, but you know, for the most part, I'm one of those people that can testify that it does work. We have a very big recovery community here in Guam, and I'm sure if they were all here, they would tell you the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Borja. Mr. Brian Hahn. Again, just identify your name and if you're representing yourself or any organization before you start your testimony. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my name is Brian Hahn, and I'm just here to testify for myself. I guess what I'd like to say is not to piggyback on what Mr. Borja said, but what he said is all true, and it does happen. There's a lot of stigma, and a lot of the people, because I'm in the recovery community, because of what I do, helping people with behavioral health and substance use disorders around that community every day. And I do see a lot of people going through and in treatment and outpatient and inpatient, and when they graduate from the program or when they graduate from the treatment, you know, also to receive the treatment, they need to have substance. And the SNAP program is something that's very beneficial to help them. Me, myself, when I was in recovery and I hit rock bottom, I didn't have any economic support, and if it wasn't for the SNAP benefits, I don't know what would have happened to me as well. Because I was able to receive that, I was able to feed my family and feed my kids. And that's why I was able to, like how Eric has done, I was able to gradually get better, recover, you know, start work jobs, get better, get education, do training, and be able to reintegrate back into society and be a contributing member of the community and trying to give back and have purpose. That's important for people in recovery that maybe a lot of people don't understand, that the way we are able to stay sober or to stay is we stay connected, and we also have to be of service. We have to give back. That's how we're able to sustain our sobriety and also to be productive people of the community. So in saying that, I meet a lot of peers, people that are in recovery, and some people that, and I also work at and do presentations at the RSAT program. So a lot of the people that I do are just as involved. Some of the peers that I have on, and unfortunately, a lot of them, they're not able to, like what Mr. Borja said, they're not qualified for SNAP because of their conviction. And a lot of them, unfortunately, when I talk to them, and I ask them, and some of them, they make some poor choices, and I ask them, why did you make that choice? And they go, well, I can't get a job because I was honest, I checked the box, and then I checked the other box, I can't get any benefits, so what am I gonna do, Brian? How am I gonna feed my family? What am I gonna do? So unfortunately, I had to revert back to some of the bad choices that I made just so I'm able to survive. That's a choice I had to make. Would I have done that if I had support? Probably not. But unfortunately, that's not the reality of what I have to come against. So I had to do what I had to do. Hope you can respect that. I said, well, yeah. But there's, and we try to help them. And that's why we have the organization TOGI, where we try to help those people and give them opportunities and give them means so that they can give back and support themselves as well as their families, and have an opportunity to reinvent themselves, redefine themselves, and reestablish themselves in the community and be productive, giving and caring citizens of our community. And a lot of the things that we do is always giving back and being of service. And I've seen Mr. Borja when he came to Island, because I was in the same, I was in recovery just like him, and I've seen him grow. So just actually him sitting here and what he said and testify is really huge. I mean, if that doesn't sway you, or not to say sway, but if that does not prove that it works and there is benefits, then I don't know what will, because his story has huge power, his testimonial that it can happen, people can recover, and we're all just human beings, A lot of us, we just make bad choices. And some of the situations we have in life, sometimes we make bad choices, but, we're not bad people. We just unfortunately made a bad choice. And if we are given opportunity, we can make better choices, and we can give back and be better people and redefine ourselves and be caring and give back to our community of Guam, this beautiful island, the beautiful people, and see it thrive and see it grow. So I do support, as a person, the bill, and I really do think that I believe that it will definitely give people opportunities to recover and to give back to the island and make everyone proud. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hahn, for your testimony. Dre Andrus?
Hi, good morning. My name is Dre Andrus. I'm testifying on behalf of myself. I didn't really prepare anything, but I'll just go into my backstory. It has a lot of parallels with Mr. Borja's. I was born and raised here, and I moved to the States to go to college. I went to University of Florida, and then I moved to Los Angeles to work as a film editor and a legal videographer. I also was heavily addicted to heroin, fentanyl, and cocaine all of my adult life. I was spending upwards of $300 a day, oftentimes much more than that. The amount of fentanyl I was taking a day was 1.5 grams, which I later found out was 75 times greater than just the lethal dosage, and I was doing that in a day. And I was making good money, but of course, to support a habit that bad, I had to start selling. And I sold drugs on the dark web, and it wasn't long until I got arrested by the FBI. They extradited me to Virginia. I served my time there, and I was fortunate enough that they released me into the custody of my parents here in Guam. And I am so thankful, I'm so lucky that my parents not only supported me through all of this, not just financially, but emotionally. And on top of that, my drug of choice really isn't here, so there's not really that much temptation. We have a really great program at New Beginnings called MAT, Medicine Assisted Treatment. And it's a medication that it keeps me from feeling the effects of withdrawal. And also, if I were to relapse, I would get violently ill. I wouldn't get high at all. And that's coupled with intense therapy, which has been great. When I first got back, I was looking for work, and I'm used to getting jobs just very, very easily. It's really embarrassing because I was applying for jobs as like a waitress or a sales associate, and I knew that they were Googling me. The first thing when you Google my name is my federal charge, and I didn't get calls back, and I was just really appalled. And so when I started going to counseling at Lighthouse Recovery Center, the counselor there, Miss Valerie Regis, suggested that I take Peer Academy, which was a class offered by Togi. And I did it. I loved it. I learned all kinds of things about how to share your story, how to support others, how to be a peer. And at the end of it, Brian gave me a chance. Brian Hahn gave me a chance to work at Togi as the project coordinator and as a peer specialist. So I'm out there working with people in the system, people that with drug charges, that they can't get housing, they can't get power, they can't get water. It's really sad. And a lot of them have kids too, and they can't support these kids. And so I am 100% in support of this bill. This bill would do so many great things for this community. And just because you did a bad thing, it doesn't make you a bad person, and everyone deserves help, I think. That's my piece. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming and providing your testimony. We'll continue with Michael Quinata. Come. No problem. Just wanted to make sure that if you wanted to provide testimony, you're certainly open to doing that. Before we have our colleagues ask questions, I'm just following for the speaker this morning, just for the record, that in addition to the stakeholders, the committee did provide invitations, and feedback were sent to the following: the Department of Public Health and Social Services, the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center, the Salvation Army, the Lighthouse Recovery Center, Public Defender Service Corporation, the Guam Bar Association, Togui Guam Incorporated, Sanctuary Incorporated, Laddie Treatment Center. And for the record, the committee is in receipt of written testimony on Bill 2037, a COR from the following: Department of Public Health and Social Services, in support with some recommended technical changes. Letitia Ilidong Reichart, Master of Social Work Candidate 2023, University of Hawaii at Manoa, Thompson School of Social Work and Public Health, in support of this bill. Euphemia Artero, a graduate of the OG BSW program and current MSW student at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, who's also in support. And with that, we'll start off with Senator Taitigui, if you have any questions or comments with regards to this bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity, and thank you everyone for coming to testify, especially Mr. Borja, Mr. Hahn, and yourself. I'm sorry I didn't get your name again.
Dre Andrus.
Dre Andrus. It takes a lot of courage, to come up and tell your story. And I want to thank you for that, because your story actually is, it encourages others, that there is hope at the end, that there are people who are successful. I think everyone in our family, mine including my own sister, have drug issues. Unfortunately, she passed away, but I know how difficult it is, and I watched her, through her life and see the struggles that she had. Couldn't find a job, she was arrested several times, and it was very difficult. I did some research in looking at some of the other states and what they have in their laws and how they changed it. I'm sure public health has done the same. Thank you so much for being here. I've noticed in some states where all is required is just to fulfill your sentencing, and your parole is all abide by, and then you can receive the benefits. However, some states require that, of course, that fulfill your sentencing, any kind of parole, and then also take a treatment program, as well as completing a drug education class and a treatment program. Mr. Borja, you mentioned you were in California and had to go through this in California. And fortunately, their law was amended to allow you to have SNAP. But did it also require you to take any kind of drug program or treatment before you were eligible to take this benefit?
Actually, what happened was I was in treatment already. I was told by friends on the street that I can qualify for SNAP, even if I had a drug charge. But I wasn't sure. I had to go test it for myself. And when I went and when I did it, I ended up getting insurance, medical insurance, and SNAP. And like what I shared in my testimony, that's I was in treatment, but they didn't know that. They didn't require me to go to treatment. So I never mentioned nothing that I was in drug treatment at that time.
So in California, there is no requirement. I'm sure public health has some background. Are there quite a bit of states actually have different rules and regulations? Quite a bit. Like, for instance, I think it was Alabama, where if it says Alabama felony conviction has completed their sentence or satisfied serving a probation sentence, and that's all you need. However, other states require that you go through a treatment program, like Colorado and Connecticut are one of those that require that. So my question to you now is public health, and what you see in this legislation, it looks similar to the Texas law regarding this. Your recommendation is just simple to put the TNF, I think, incorporated, which most states have, the T, what was it, acronym, T?
It's TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families.
Okay, yeah, that one, like most, but is there a particular state law that, because 49 states already have it, but is there a particular state that public health would like to follow, to provide this, allow them to provide the services for those convicted of a felony?
Well, when we first were approaching the bill, we did look at all the different states. Right. And if you notice through the research, a lot of them have gone from what they call as modified bans. Right. So the modified bans, these are where states put in certain conditions. And if you look at all the research that's been provided, is that a lot of the requirements were heavily put on like the probation or parole office, like for drug testing, and it was like up to them to make that determination, right? So for here, because we're such a local community and we have really great services that are here to help, currently in the TANF and SNAP program, we do have a set of disqualification sanctions. So every time that they defraud or they violate a certain program violation, there's like a 3 strikes you're out kind of, and it's on our application. So the first strike basically, or first penalty is 3 months of no benefits. The second offense is 6 months, and the third is a permanent ban.
And that would apply to this too. If this law should pass, would that apply, that 3 strikes you're out?
Yes, we would follow the same procedures, correct.
And that's through federal guidelines, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we work, like I said, with, we work really well with like Mr. Quinata's program and Guam Behavioral Health, the RSAT program. We work well with all those other programs in trying to get this going, but again, looking at, these are people that are already in treatment and are going through the process who want to get out of the life that they're currently in.
I see. Mr. Borja, do you think that there should be some kind of, you deal a lot with Lighthouse, and Mr. Hahn, you was there too, and Lighthouse Recovery is a great, great nonprofit organization, and my hat's off to them and all the good work that they're doing. And it's obvious, a lot of success from that program. Do you think that maybe if there is an individual who is looking for this benefit and has just fulfilled their sentencing and from a felony, do you think that they should go through a requirement to go through some kind of drug treatment or program? before they start receiving their benefits?
That's something I mean, personally, I would support, because I'm a product of substance use treatment, and I know for a fact that, it did educate me. It showed me that, it gave me coping skills. It taught me how to handle and be aware of my triggers that make me want to use drugs, and I really like that one of the 3 strikes you're out. Within that time, the services that we have on Guam, with whoever the individual's working with in that program, if there is some type of substance use issue, they can make a referral to Guam Behavioral, to make a referral to Lighthouse or New Beginnings, to help them to get on track and be part of. If you want to be if you want the benefit, this is the things you need to do to stay on track to keep the benefit, right? Not everybody's going to make it. There's going to be people that are going to be falling down, and in my experience, the 3rd time in my life I had to go to treatment was the one that got me, the one that helped me to get over the wall that I kept hitting. So kind of like, I don't know, I believe in the three strikes you're out, but in that case, hopefully that somewhere along the line, that individual will make that change. And we just keep in mind too that not everybody gonna make it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's a fair chance of people that faced with certain things, and it also comes with the services we have on Guam. We have good treatment centers here, and we've seen people come through the program. People individuals from CPS who lose their children get taken away because of their drug addiction. They have to go to treatment. They have to do these certain things to reunite with their children.
Right.
And I believe like that too with the SNAP, and I'm a full supporter of that, because it personally affected me when I got here. Yeah. And I believe that if you give these individuals a chance to make change in their life and guide them in the ways that they need, we'll have a really good community. I'm telling you right now. I mean, it's the minute you get a taste of being in recovery, my whole life perspective changed. Mm-hmm. And today now I still have the struggles of regular life on life's terms, but today what I've learned in treatment, I'm sure will help. It will help the individual move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Borja, and I truly agree with you. I mean, seeing it firsthand myself with family member, but we see that with alcoholism. You have your AA programs, and even people who've had their chip for 10 years or 15 years, they still go. So I think that if we're going to provide this kind of benefit paid for by the taxpayers' money, or even though it's federal money, that we should guide them and help them along the way, not just say, here's the SNAP, go off and do it. They need help. We need to continue to help our community, beat this epidemic that we have on this island. And I congratulate you all for your hard work and your courage again to get through, and I wish you the very best. So thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Todd. I agree with that. We'll have the sponsor of the bill. Senator Parkinson, do you have any questions or comments you'd like to make?
No questions. I just want to thank you all for sharing your stories that required a lot of courage, and I thank you. It really, I knew that there were people that this bill would help, and it really, really humbles me to see who these people are, to see you, and I hope to get the rest of my colleagues' support and get you folks the help that you need. So thank you for coming today, truly, and sharing your stories.
Thank you very much, Senator Parkinson. With that, Senator Chris Duenas.
Si Dios Masi, Madam Chair, and to the entire panel and everybody who's come to testify today. I'm really glad that this hearing has taken this posture of a discussion of hope and change. In 2003, when I was selected to be the Director of Department of Youth Affairs, it was really a banner year for us. Two things happened in that year. I was able to hire for the first time an actual doctor of psychology to serve with the benefit of a great federal grant that we got to serve our children at a much higher level and bring a greater deal of clinical services to our young people who found themselves incarcerated at Department of Youth Affairs. The second thing that was really amazing was another federal program that came to Guam under Judge Barrett Anderson was the Juvenile Drug Court. And even till today, adults, of course, because 2003 would just do the years. I have 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds that will still come up to me and say, or 30-year-olds and a little bit younger would say, "Sir," and I say, "Don't do that," because they'll know where you came from. But that's the respect that they have, right, for everybody who helped them throughout. And Mr. Borja, that's what you're talking about. These are the individuals that made it. You know, others didn't. Others still struggle. But I'm saying this to say that I'm glad that Public Health has presented today that this hand up and an opportunity is designed to be parallel to that road to recovery. And I think that's important. Particularly, I'm a little disappointed that housing wasn't here this morning, and some of the other critical agencies. Hopefully we'll receive written testimony from them. But let's be honest and fair, right? I mean, those that are availing of these programs as well, that are just as much in need, need those resources as well. Those that in housing programs, deserve to know that there are standards, by which their families are also living, amongst those. And so, ma'am, like you said, you were just blessed with a family that embraced you. And I know that took full responsibility to see you through it. And that made for, everybody around you to be able to be assured that, and I'm sure they pitched in as well, to attempt to see you through success. So what an amazing story this morning. I think all of the stories were very compelling. I see no issues with this bill given the safeguards and the parameters that Public Health has put forward. I'm sure there will be a debate on both sides. But I think that's the most important thing, is that there has to be a corresponding, because like I said, every young adult now that still comes up and says, "How you doing, sir?" They're representative of their commitment, right? Their commitment to the process. And a lot of them are, in tow is their family. Kids that I know now that they're probably spending their life trying to build guardrails around because of their experience and what they had gone through, and that Youth Affairs changed their life. Juvenile Drug Court changed their life. The ability to get clinical services changed their life. And so I was most happy and I'm most excited that the general tenor of this conversation is basic needs, right? I mean, even when you're not in crisis, you have basic needs. When you're in crisis, basic needs, right? It comes up. But alongside that is the effort, and like Mr. Borja said, to heal individuals, to bring them along, creates and generates a sense of personal responsibility. I got to have buy-in to this, right? I've got to seek that, and like Public Health said, like Mr. Borja will say and has said, and everybody else who's dealing with treatment here, there's going to be a fall. There will be a consequence to that fall, right? Hopefully it clicks if there is a fall. Maybe for some of them, there's no fall, because that was the thing. Wow, I got a chance to be able to feed myself as I recover. I got a chance to, have a place to stay so I can rebuild my life. Maybe the first time for them is no more. You know what I mean? I've learned that even just to have basics in society, I need to turn that corner, right? And so I just think it's important as we debate this bill, that your stories of hope are the backdrop for why basic necessities are so important, not only just in regular times, but particularly in times of crisis, but that there's a system that individuals avail themselves of as well, that have crisis without the issues, that need help as well and need to be on a level playing field. And I would hope that testimony would be received, with understanding. As in closing, as I work with social workers, I have never met a group of people that honestly are some of the most selfless individuals on the planet. Sometimes I wonder how you guys do it. But, you know, it's a commitment. It's like nurses, it's like teachers, it's like people who, you know, most of them, you know, their income is secondary to what they believe in doing. Of course, they need the income, don't get me wrong. But the fact of the matter is they are always true heroes. So I thank you all for being here today. I'm sure we'll deliberate this in the context of parity and the discussion. But I think the fundamentals here, at least to me, are met. Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Duenas. With that, Senator Barnett, do you have any questions or comments on this?
Thank you, Senator. I want to thank everyone for coming out to testify, especially my good friend, Mr. Eric Borja, who I think is definitely one of the shining stars of the recovery movement. So thank you for sharing your story again. Eric, I feel like I know it by heart. You've shared it so many times, and I definitely can say that you've positively impacted and influenced so many people who feel like there's no way out from drug addiction, you know, specifically with the crystal meth problems that we're facing on our island. And I also like that you support the 3 strikes, you're out, right? I think we need to be consistent with that, because sometimes on our island, depending on who you're connected to, it's 3 strikes, you're in. But I just wanted to ask, you know, from the recovery standpoint, right, if you support people going through the treatment programs and recovery programs in order to avail of these SNAP benefits, in your opinion, would we be able to meet that demand in the recovery community with the various programs that we have up and running?
At the moment, we have a good handful of people who are out there still using drugs. We have a good handful of people who have recovered from using substances. And like not just on Guam, but anywhere else, we always lack services. We're always lacking service. We can always use another residential program. Now the Salvation Army, the Lighthouse, we're having our Guma Famalawan Center for the Women going to be opening up sometime soon in this year. That's going to help more women, and there's other things in the works right now. I believe I believe the government got going on that's going to provide more services. You know, if we can't meet the demand, there's always but like I just learned in the social work conference that we're all social workers, including you up there. You guide us to the services that we need, and if we're lacking services, we come up with something. We always got to make sure as a social worker, there's always some type of service I can offer you, even if it's not the one that you need right away. So somewhere along the lines, we can brainstorm and find some type of service. If a person doesn't have, they're not able to get into the program right away because they're waiting for an appointment. We have the Salvation Army. We have Catholic Social Services that gives out food bags. I give out food bags, and and at least hold you off for a little bit. You know, with the housing situation, I'm not too familiar with that because I didn't even bother trying to apply for it because of my record. So now it's I can imagine the other people who have records that got kicked out of the program, and it's like we're struggling with people who are displaced out there in the island now because of it. You know, not everybody out there who's displaced has a drug issue or a substance issue. You know, there's other reasons why they're like that, why they're in the situation they're in. You know, but to handle the capacity, that's your question, right? Is to handle the capacity of people? I'm sure we can. Yeah. I'm sure we can. We'll find a way.
Yeah, I just want to make sure because in a lot of ways, like with these recent efforts by Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio and Attorney General Doug Moylan to evict or relocate, whatever fancy word they want to use for it, the homeless without having the safety net of services available that they even want to use. So if we're going to do this, I want to make sure that, you know, if it requires more money for funding recovery programs, that we don't set up a situation where people are going to fall on their face, right? I wanted to just a little more on the 3 strikes you're out. thing. Just coming from the media and having interviewed, many drug addicts over the years, I think it's common knowledge, and you kind of alluded to it in your testimony, this idea that, well, not an idea, this practice that addicts have swapping EBT benefits for drugs, right? Given that public health has this 3 strikes program in place, do you think, with your perspective, there are any other safeguards or methods we can use to kind of avoid those circumstances? Do you think that the 3 strikes, you're out, would adequately vet that type of abuse?
As a person who used to use drugs, I'm a very resourceful person. I will find a way, and with the case of trying to monitor that, is that what you're talking about? Is trying to monitor
Or
that?
just with your insight, what could we do to stand up safeguards to help better avoid those types of situations where people are swapping SNAP to get meth and getting away with it, right? They're gaming the system,
Yeah.
like you said, very resourceful. So with your perspective, what could we do on our side or on public health side to prevent that from happening?
We should. I'm not sure how they do it now, but like I said, when I did my testimony, they had a form which I can vaguely recall. It said drug offender addendum form, and it had all these little things I had to initial by to agree on. If I didn't agree on it, then they wouldn't give me the. But of course, I agreed on it because I needed the SNAP,
Right.
and I personally did not do what it said on that thing. I used it for what I needed to use it for, and to monitor it would be I believe we would have to again brainstorm together and come up with more ideas. Maybe even get the grocery workers, the cashiers, maybe get them training on maybe they have to provide an ID, because in order for you to get that card, you have to have an ID. And the person, like sometimes people give their card to go do something, have somebody else do it, and we can find a way to incorporate them showing an ID, just like how you check my credit card.
Right.
Like they won't let me use my credit card unless I provide an ID that shows that it's me and that's mine. So.
Yeah, it's very heartbreaking when you have these situations where, for example, the addict in the family is the father type figure, and maybe the family has, 4 to 5 kids. Mother is receiving SNAP benefits to the tune of, over whatever it is, $1,500 for the household. But then, daddy is swapping those benefits for crystal meth, right? We just want to make sure that we can vet that good, so that if daddy's going to get the benefits and he completes the recovery, we're not just, further enabling these addicts to get the meth, at the expense of feeding their families, right?
I'm sure we can come up with something, because if California and all the other states that can modify the ban and still be able to give people who need the benefit, I'm sure Guam can come up with something.
Thank you again, and thank you for sharing your story. I know you got me choked up whenever I hear it, and really I just want to commend you and Mr. Hahn and everyone in the recovery community. In this. In light of this unchecked crystal meth epidemic we're facing, I think that you guys definitely deserve your trophies, your resolutions, your commendations for, the example and the work that you're doing for the community.
We're just giving back to the people that helped us also. And we're giving back to the community that didn't give up on us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For public health, ma'am, I just wanted to ask, because, we hear so much, we just heard in a recent hearing about the staff shortages at the Department of Public Health. So that being said, if this passes into law, will your division be able to meet the increased demand of applicants with the limited staff that you have?
Well, I'm going to say we're going to try, but of course, because if we have about maybe 39 individuals on the SNAP program that have a drug felon individual in the household. So if this bill passes, it's just a matter of a system change in our programming so that it increases the SNAP benefit. But yeah, we're in support of it, and we understand the struggles they go through because we see it every day that walk through our doors. And so we are going to do the very best we can to make that happen.
Will this impact the amount in matching funds that Guam has to set aside, do you think?
No, because again, the SNAP benefits are 100% federally funded, so is the TANF. And I just wanted to add also that the TANF program, there is a 5-year limit on cash assistance. So it gives us a time frame to work with them to get off the assistance program.
And then lastly, do you think that this would reduce the number of already eligible recipients that can avail of these benefits?
I'm sorry, so can you repeat one more time?
Do you think that that this law would reduce the number of other already eligible recipients that can avail of these benefits?
Yes, I think I mean, actually, it will increase the number of people that will be eligible.
By what number would you say?
You know, I can only report on those that are currently active, so I'm pretty sure that like Mr. Borja and Mr. Hahn, if they were, because they weren't allowed to or they weren't eligible for the program, it's like, why should I fill out the paperwork if I'm not going to be eligible? It's just a waste of time for them. Right. But now that if this is going to be a reality, then it will definitely, we'll see more applicants coming out.
I also want to recognize Mr. Hahn and thank you for all the work that you do. Not just in the recovery community, but also in the field of youth sports. You're very inspirational in the work that you do. I mean, I know you don't get paid for a lot of it. And again, I just want to do my part on the record to really hold you guys up as the example, because so many people, I mean, I've got relatives who have had to leave the island because they couldn't get services. They couldn't make it through recovery because, you know, if they decided to get clean, the minute they walk out the door, they're bombarded by, 20 drug dealers trying to sell them meth at an all-time low. So I think it's your conviction, your passion, and the work that you all do is definitely to be commended, and I just want to get that on the record. So thank you again for your testimony.
Thank you very much, Senator Barnett. I'm just going to read the speaker's comments that she wanted to be included in this hearing, and then I have a question for public health. With regards to legal review, a review was provided by the Guam Legislature's Legal Bureau that found the proposed bill complies with the Guam Legislature's standing rules and accurately reflects the Guam Code annotated. A recommendation was made to verify the section of the Federal Controlled Substance Act cited relative to the definition of controlled substance on line 9 and section 1 for accuracy. The bill remains subject to further review as to form and style. The speaker does have questions for public health, so I'll go ahead on her behalf and ask, and I'll follow up with my own. But with regards to the Department of Public Health, will the Division of Public Welfare be able to handle potential increase in applicants with its current staffing?
As I mentioned before, is that of course there is a short staff of our caseworkers, so we are getting additional help to help process those applications.
How many clients do you have that are receiving the benefit on a regular basis? Do you have that number?
We have about maybe an average of about 30,000 household members under SNAP, and about 11, maybe 12,000 families.
Okay. Will this impact the amount in matching that Guam will have to set aside in terms of the funding?
No, not in terms of the benefit itself.
Okay. Will this reduce the number of other already eligible recipients that can avail of these benefits?
No, it won't reduce eligibility.
Would you anticipate that since these are federally funded, that you would still get additional funds to cover any additional applicants? How would you address that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat one more time?
How would you address getting additional funds for additional applicants? Or do you have reserve funds available now in the program?
Well, as far as, like I said, the benefits is concerned, again, that's 100% funded by SNAP and by TANF.
Yes,
So,
I understand.
yes.
I'm asking, would you have enough funds available for new applicants?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Yes, we
currently
are.
that's provided. How many more do you think you could get on the program with your funding that you have available now?
As far as the numbers, I can get that to you. I don't have an estimate right now.
It would be good if you could provide that to the Speaker's office so that it can be included in the committee report
Okay.
for this bill. The Speaker also notes that, of course, your department had recommended changes. She elaborates here at Section 5 to include temporary assistance for needy families. In Section 7, include a TANF after SNAP on line 16, page 7. And in Section 8, include TANF recipients in any penalties imposed if found guilty of violating federal laws. She goes on to say, I want to thank the prime sponsor, Senator Parkinson, for extending the invitation to co-sponsor this bill. The right to food is recognized in the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights as part of a right to an adequate standard of living. Human beings have a fundamental right to be free from hunger. According to a 2015 report by the Sentencing Project that examined data from the U.S. Health and Human Services reports, the Bureau of Justice and Statistics, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Food and Nutrition Service, and several other studies conducted following the federal ban on TANF and SNAP benefits that has been in effect since 1996. There is no data to substantiate that the ban has helped to prevent or reduce drug abuse or drug-related crimes. However, it has been linked to increased rates of recidivism, harmful to public safety and health, and contributing to swollen prison populations. The ban has also not shown to be effective with the reduction of welfare fraud, but has been proven to be a barrier to the successful food security, re-entry into society, family reunification, and successful escape from abusive relationships or households. Those most impacted by the ban have been women, children, and communities of color. Women comprise the vast majority of the recipients of both TANF and SNAP benefits, and law enforcement and sentencing trends in recent decades show a sharply rising number of women charged with drug offenses. From 1980 to 2010, the number of women in prison rose 646% compared to 419% increase of men. Dependent children who have committed no crime themselves are immediately impacted. Racial and ethnic disparities in drug offender incarcerations resulting from the war on drugs, law enforcement and sentencing policies have disproportionately impacted African Americans and other minorities of color. For these disproportionately lower income populations, the sudden loss of a job or a change in family circumstances can severely impact stability. Since TANF and SNAP ban was enacted, most states that have taken action to opt out of its provision in full or in part, Guam and South Carolina are the only states and territory with a full ban still in place. I did want to ask one question for myself. You had mentioned the children would be impacted if their parent, I guess their legal parent, under the current requirements would not be eligible for these programs. Is there anyone else on their behalf that can apply for these, or are there other programs that those children would be eligible in the event their parent was not eligible under the current restrictions that are here? How would you address that? How is it addressed, if at all? Because you mentioned that the children would be impacted if their parent didn't qualify because of a felony conviction.
Right, so basically, if they're considered a drug felon, it just basically reduces their benefit. So the parent is not a part of that household size for the full benefit that they would receive.
So reduce the amount that the family is receiving?
Yes.
But that individual, the parent, would still be part of that household, though?
Yes, that's correct, yes. Like I said, we do have families who are like a two-parent family, and the spouse is not eligible because of the drug felon conviction, but they would still get the benefit.
So it just reduces the amount the actual family would receive?
Yes.
In terms of benefit?
Right.
And so far, with regards to those that are participating in the program, I mean, is it something that is a long-term process, or once perhaps they've received opportunity for job employment? What are the criteria, just so that we're aware of it and the public that's listening is aware? What are the criteria to be eligible? And if you go back, for example, and have active employment, I mean, is there a certain income threshold that if you exceed, you're no longer eligible? It'd be good to know that information.
Yes, of course. Like any benefit program, there is, of course, income guidelines that we have to follow. And of course, if the household goes over that income, then it does, of course, impact their benefit level.
What is the income limit? I'm sure it's probably based on family size, but just to give us a general idea.
I'm sorry, Senator, I don't have that information at the moment with me, but again, I can supply that to you. In terms of the income limit.
It would be good to know, right?
Exactly.
Off the top of your head, that would be good to know.
And it's actually posted on our website as well, but we can.
But how do you, just for our awareness, because again, I mean, you look at this as an opportunity to allow members of our community to get back on their feet and hopefully start a good and productive life. Are you seeing, after a certain period of time, I mean, do we still have individuals that stay on these federally funded programs, or do they eventually graduate from it, are financially independent, and are able to support themselves and their families? What is the trend?
Sure. So as far as the TANF program, itself, we do have there is a basic work requirement, which is the jobs program. So if they're receiving cash assistance, they actually do have to meet a work requirement, and we track them on a monthly basis if there's no exemptions like children and disability. And so we track them for the period that they're on the program. And usually, majority of them that do get off the program is due to employment, is reporting employment. So we see those numbers, we see the trend.
What is the trend with regards to those that may not be eligible anymore because they violated requirements? How common is that, if at all?
As far as the disqualification figures, again, I can get that report to you. We do get that information, we do that on a quarterly basis.
It would be good, and in the
Yes.
future, I mean, if you come,
Sure.
it'd be good to have that readily available, because that's the kind of information we'd like to know and see, and certainly know what the trends are. I mean, obviously, we all want to see everyone improve and move forward and go on to bigger and better things. But if there's any issue with regards to percentage that are disqualified for whatever reason, I think that would be helpful, because that gives us a sense of what's happening out there in the community. With that, Senator Parkinson, do you have any other closing comments that you would like to make?
Thank you, ma'am. The eligibility restrictions for SNAP and TAMP have had severe consequences for individuals convicted of drug crimes and their families. Extending these benefits to people with drug convictions can have several benefits, including reducing hunger, poverty, and reducing recidivism rates, and addressing racial disparities in the criminal justice system. It is essential to reevaluate the eligibility restrictions for these programs and consider extending benefits to individuals with drug convictions to provide much-needed support and help people get back on their feet. The SNAP and TAMP programs provide crucial support for low-income families and individuals struggling to make ends meet. These programs can help families access nutritious food, pay for housing and utilities, and provide essential services such as childcare and job training. As a member of the community and myself, I know people don't always make the best decisions, and we shouldn't punish somebody for a lifetime for a decision, youthful indiscretions in their youth. For me, that strikes me as cruel and unusual to prevent people having the tools necessary to make it back into society and damn them to generational poverty. And so thank you all for coming out again, and I look forward to passing this legislation on your behalf.
Thank you very much, Senator Parkinson. Thank you to all of you for coming and providing your testimony this morning with regards to this bill, especially for some of you sharing very personal experiences. Publicly, it's not always the easiest thing. Nobody wants to highlight the challenges they've been to in most cases, but we certainly appreciate your input. That certainly will help us in making a decision with regards to this bill. So thank you for that. There being no additional individuals to present further testimony, this committee will consider Bill number 2937, COR, as substituted by the Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture, duly heard. The committee will remain open for submission of additional written testimony for the next 3 working days following this hearing by close of business on Thursday, March 20th, 2023. Testimony can be sent via email to Senator Terlaje, Guam, @gmail.com, or hand-delivered to her office here at the Guam Congress Building. The public hearing is now adjourned, and it's about 11:17, or 11:18 to be exact. With that, the hearing is now adjourned. Again, thank you all of you for coming and providing testimony, certainly to my colleagues for being here for this hearing. Thank you very much. Have a good day.